the criminal use of firearms is increasing. The number of weapons that we see on the streets on a daily basis seems to be increasing.
I mean, when someone got shot when I was young, it was a big deal. But nowadays, people are getting shot for joke. It's no, there's no major issue about it anymore.
For me, my son, he'd been laid dead for 3 days before he was found. He was murdered on the 12th at 7 o'clock in the evening. Neighbours heard the gunshots but thought it was fireworks. His friends found him on the Saturday night, and then I had to go ID him on the Tuesday. But that knock on my door to come and tell me about my son, to the day I die, I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget that policeman's words when he says to me, Pat, it's different, Danny's dead.
Most of the time, people that carry knives or daggers, whatever, do you know what I mean? They don't really want to use them, yeah? But when it comes to the crunch, right, they're in a situation, they pull it out because they're scared. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're going to get banged, right? And next minute, the hand's doing something like this, right? And they just touch skin and it goes in.
Bottles.
Yeah.
Fruit
fear as well, though.
Yeah.
It depends who it is as well. Somebody that's bigger than them, they're more intimidated, and they're going to use. They're going to think, well, I don't want to get beat up now. It's not a case of just getting hit. A lot of people are stomping people out, so to them they need to defend themselves, and the only way they can do that is with a weapon. People use bottles, chairs.
Because what you do is from area to area, you've got one gang slagging off another gang, but they're never really coming together and sorting it out. So what they'll do is they have to do more things than that gang in one area to sort of say that we're better and we're harder. But a lot of it is talk as well.
Yeah, like when you're in your own end, most people feel safe. But I feel safe in any ends me, but most people won't go to next areas because they think something will happen more. Because there's a bit of beef going on between Dalton Man and people like Bradley D and Part outside. People carry knives and guns for more protection, really, but...
This young girl here, 15 years old, gone to a nightclub, got chatting to a guy in there. 2 other girls must have been jealous of her talking to this guy. A fight started, the 3 of them's ended up getting kicked out of the club. A little fight's erupted. This young lassie here has gone home. A couple of weeks later, she's thought, I'm going to go back to this club, but I'm going to take a weapon with me. Her dad was a butcher, so she took one of his boning knives, believing, well, if I've got this on me and if they come after me, if I show me, they'll leave me alone. She's gone back to the club, the same situation's happened, she's been thrown out of the club. Next thing before they know it, her own knife has actually been embedded in her head. It was taken off of her. The knife she thought she was going to protect herself with was taken off of her and actually embedded here in her head. These pictures, this young lassie, 15-year-old, the life support machine's just been turned off on these pictures.
The helicopter under the air support unit that can reach any parts of the force within 10 to 15 minutes, wherever you are within West Yorkshire Police. If there's a message about you carrying a weapon, we can be looking at you within 10 to 15 minutes.
When we get the calls come in that there's someone with a gun, and it's always treated as someone with a gun, really, because you can't tell what the gun is until you're actually there, you've got hold of the thing and you can examine it.
It's still shocking when someone sees or hears about a gun within their own community, on their own street or within their own immediate neighbourhood. It does have an impact on members of our communities.
Holster, back to the centre.
Any person carrying firearms, if they're threatening anybody with them, it's impossible to tell whether it's a real or a replica firearm, and that they shouldn't be pointing guns at anybody on the streets, because the consequences, the officers have only got a couple of seconds to make that assessment, and if it is a real weapon and they assess it wrong, then they're going to be shot, or a member of the public's going to be shot.
When we get the phone call about that young person with a gun on the street, we have to respond in the same way that we would respond to any criminal use of a firearm. And that, yes, it's professional, well-trained officers who are armed themselves have to go out and confront that individual who, at this stage, appears to have a gun on the street. 1 minute this young person's thinking they've just got hold of an imitation gun, and the next minute they're facing 8 highly trained, armed police officers shouting and screaming at them to do what they've been told to do, to get down, to put their hands where they can be seen. And these young people go from happy, joking, laughing with their mates, to the next minute relieving themselves there and then on the spot because they're facing such a lethal force.
In films, again, you see the likes of, you know, people getting out of cars and hiding behind a, you know, wing of a car or hiding behind the door of a car, and the bullets, you know, just ricocheting off. But in reality, it's an awful lot different. I mean, imagine what would happen to you if you were in a car like this when it had been shot. I've been there when someone's been shot, and I've seen the effects it has on the body, even with something where the shot hasn't directly hit them. I've been to an instance where someone was shot at, and he was shot through glass, and the glass went into his eyes, blinding him both eyes. You know, knives are lethal things, and they're a big problem for us. And as far as I'm concerned, they're as lethal as a firearm. You know, they're not any safer, they're not any better, and they're certainly as bad, if not worse, than firearms.
These are deep and penetrating injuries that affect your skin, your muscles, your bones, and if it's in your torso, your lungs, your heart, your liver, your spleen, your bowels. A bullet, when it goes in, like I say, it leaves a small mark. But as it starts tumbling, and it creates various areas of different pressure inside the body, and what happens is the body tries to fill in that pressure. So your bowels might leak out. You know, the temperature created might fry some of the underlying tissues. So, for example, if it's gone through the liver, it may leave a very charred remains. But what happens is the big impact is if the bullet exits the body, it exits not with a tiny clean wound that you see when it enters, but with a big hole, because of the tumbling effect and the violence generated as the bullet goes through the body. So that's usually one clue. If the bullets come out, it's usually a much bigger hole than where it went in. If you take an ordinary gun and you shoot it into somebody's leg, for example, okay, from a reasonable distance, it'll probably go through and through my leg, fracture my femur, okay, so my leg will be broken, my muscles will be damaged, my nerves will be damaged, my blood vessels may well be damaged, and there is a chance that unless that's operated on, dealt with properly, I might even lose that leg. Okay. However, if you take a gunshot, right, okay, a big double-barrel gunshot, saw it off in half, put it near my leg, right, okay, and then shoot, it'll take the leg clean off. Okay, so that's the kind of range of injuries that you will see, and we've seen that in this department. We've seen that I've seen that in other departments where I've worked. Despite the fact that I've been a consultant now for 3 years and a doctor for 11 years, there is something particularly horrible about a violent death or a violent type of injury, and despite the fact that I've seen lots and lots of these types of injuries, it still makes me feel upset. The psychological impact of seeing somebody's arm blown off, or a big hole inside of their chest where you can see their heart through, or the side of the face missing because of a gunshot wound, that kind of, you know, the psychological effects remain with you, and you remember these type of cases for you know, a fairly long time, really, and it's just, you know, to commit such violent acts on people, I think occurs either because you don't understand what the effects of these injuries are, or because you're so psychopathic in the way that you manage your life that you have a complete disregard for it.
There's nothing anybody could do that I haven't done, you know, and it's not worth it. It's simple. When you finally start on the road of prison life, you know, which you will do. You know, if you stay on that road, you will go on that road or you will die. It's hard to describe. You are caged. You are told what to do every day. You can't do as you please, you know. You answer to them, and that's the thing. You are not your person. You are not a person. You know what I mean? You are theirs. You belong to them. You wake up not knowing, you know, who may or may not slash your face today, who may or may not rape you tomorrow. You know, that's how you live. You know, you wake up not knowing how your day's gonna go. You know, you're in a routine that you can't stop. You can't see anybody you care about. You don't, you know, they're in control of your letters, your visits, everything. You know what I mean? You know, life is about your kids, your wife or your mother or, you know, your family, the whole community. You know what I mean? Because if you can give a little bit of love every day, you will get that back, or somebody else will get that back.